What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content. I hope you guys have had a safe and healthy start in the first few weeks of 2022, and I hope that Go Battle League is going well for you as we're progressing through the season. We're now just in the second half of the season, closing down into the last month. We've been about 5 or 6 weeks-ish. I think it's just 5 weeks now left of the season. And that means it's time to buckle down and get a little bit try hard just to make that push up to Legend Rank. We were at 2950 back in the Master League, we were on the global leaderboards, but we weren't quite able to push that last setup into Legend Rank. And then Sinnoh Cup came around, Great League came around, and I tanked 300-400 points last week just trying to make Infernape work for a team, which I haven't shown you guys because honestly it didn't work out very well. It just didn't gel well. If you need a counter to Bastiodon or something like that, there are a lot better choices. It just felt like all the other Pokemon that do the same things that Infernape do it better, so I was very underwhelmed with it and haven't ended up actually showing it to you guys. And I've said it to you guys before, I don't want to sing the praises of a Pokemon if it's not deserving of it, if it's not actually that strong. I'm happy to show you guys when it just doesn't quite work out as well as you want it to and things that we can learn from. But honestly, Infernape, I just didn't feel particularly inspired to even make a video about it at all, even after spending several days just losing almost all my battles, because even when it had advantageous situations, it still wasn't able to pull its weight enough to pull out wins, even paired up with other meta Pokemon. And with that being said, if you guys want to show your appreciation for me tanking my elo to try and find the hot spice to bring you guys an interesting team compositions, hit the subscribe button, helps me out massively and would make me feel a ton better about tanking so many points trying to make that awful Fire Monkey work. But today, as we've said, we're going pretty try hard, and we're going to be going fairly try hard for a while and try and make that push up to Legend Rank, and that means we're going hard meta in the Sinnoh Cup today. And this is going to be a Froslass lead with Powder Snow, Shadow Ball and Avalanche. Pretty standard moveset for Froslass. You can run Crunch instead of Shadow Ball, but I think Shadow Ball's better. Lucario in the safe swap position with counter Shadow Ball and Power Up Punch, and then my level 51 Best Buddy XL Bastiodon, which I just built during this cup. Very expensive build, very hard meta. This thing is disgustingly bulky, it can put out a lot of damage over time. It does have a couple of hard counters in this meta it has to watch out for, but overall it is fantastically strong. And we are actually opting for Flash Cannon rather than Stone Edge, and that's for the Bastiodon mirror match, and I'll show you guys and talk you through why it helps to have Flash Cannon for those situations. In fact, let's take a look and talk about it now before we jump into our standard match commentary. So this is a pretty bog standard game. We've got a good lead with Drifblim against our Froslass. They swap into Drapion, we've got Lucario to punish it. So far so good. And then let's see the matchup we're going to have in the back. Alright, so this Drifblim has farmed down our Lucario and is ahead on energy, and that means that it can technically outpace Froslass, bait us with Icy Wind and knock us out with Shadow Ball and put us on the back foot. So we're going to opt to bring in Bastiodon straight away so that the energy isn't particularly threatening, and the opponent's going to bring in their Bastiodon. So right now they're about 1.5 smackdowns behind us in terms of energy. We're pretty much on the same health as one Hex from Drifblim does almost nothing, and these smackdowns are doing basically nothing to each other anyway, and we're going to go straight for the Flash Cannon. And if you guys have ever seen a Bastiodon mirror match up close before, you're going to see that this does a reasonable little chunk. It does quite a bit more than a flamethrower does to an opposing Bastiodon. And now what this means is we only have to land 2 more flamethrowers to knock them out, whereas they have to land 4 flamethrowers. And yes, the first Flash Cannon does cost a little bit more energy, but it doesn't cost as much as 2 flamethrowers, so it's worth throwing 1 and then going for flamethrowers, because at this point as well they know we have Flash Cannon, which is a better move, more energy efficient. It tempts them to shield, and this opponent does shield. And now, as you can see, despite them having used a shield, we are still ahead on health. Now they do have a lot of energy, they got pretty much 2 flamethrowers here built up, so as you can see the first one comes through, puts us a little bit behind, but we're already at our next flamethrower, which is going to put us ahead of them. And what we're going to find is that we get to the flamethrower to knock them out before they get to the last flamethrower to knock us out. So we can survive this one. They are relatively close to another, but we are going to get to ours first, and that is despite the fact that we are having an energy lead from being ahead by 1 smackdown from actually bringing in Bastiodon first. They're about 3 smackdowns away, but we actually swap into Froslass, snipe down the Bastiodon. We've still got that shield advantage and we can very comfortably take that win despite Drifblim's energy advantage. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, but what about Stone Edge? It's such a good move. Yes, it is, but also Flash Cannon is what you need in the mirror match, Flamethrower is what you need for bad matchups, and Flamethrower serves you just fine in neutral matchups, so you might as well just run Flash Cannon and Flamethrower in my opinion and win those mirror matches to get an advantage. Now, one other situation I wanted to talk about was Froslass mirror matches where the opposing Froslass has Crunch, and I believe it's one of the main situations that you would want Crunch for is this mirror match to help you out. I'm going to show you why it's not really, it's decent, it's good, and it does give you an edge in this matchup, but also we're not particularly stressed about that difference with this team. So we're going in a standard mirror match, they throw a Crunch and get a shield out of us, which is fine. Crunch does big damage, but we're going to let this one go because it doesn't actually KO. There's a big chunk, and it does mean that they can farm us down, but also we still get shield advantage out of here. We could have made it to 2 Shadow Balls, we didn't have to get the Avalanche bait to get both those shields out of them. We're not far off an extra Avalanche, but we don't mind. We bring in Bastiodon, and now it's Empoleon against Lucario, and we can just shield up, farm this thing down entirely, and we'll have a Shadow Ball to dump into the Froslass to one-shot it if needs be, which Froslass is choosing between this Lucario and Bastiodon, so it doesn't really have anywhere left to go at this point. Despite that moveset and despite that health advantage it's come out of that situation with, throw the Shadow Ball straight away, take it out, no problem. And most situations a Froslass winning switch advantage like that, while having that much health left, could be really scary for the rest of your team, but when you've got a damage sponge like Bastiodon that can just absorb it, it's not really that bad. Now this opponent's actually got a Lucario left in the back, but we've got enough health on Bastiodon to make it to a Flamethrower and actually take the win, despite giving up switch advantage and despite having that situation. And also that was a win that gave us a nice 4 out of 5 set at the time, which is always, you know, can't complain with that for sure. Solid performance when we're going pretty try hard with it. Alright, now I want to show you guys 2 back-to-back sets showing this team's performance against various leads and how we play with it. And as you can see, first lead in this set, we've got an Empoleon lead. That is absolutely awful for us. It wins against Froslass and it wins against Bastiodon. Lucario is our only counter, so we can't swap out because we'd be absolutely screwed then. So we're going to stay in with Froslass and throw Shadow Balls. We're going to shield up and we're going to force shields out of this opponent. Now, Empoleon can actually take a Shadow Ball from Froslass if it's got reasonable bulky IVs, but either way, this does tend to pressure shields just because it does do absolutely monumental damage if it comes through. They're going to farm us down entirely, but they've given up both shields, and this opponent panics and swaps into an Abomasnow. I guess they want us to swap out to see if we've actually got a Bastiodon, I believe, at this point. But what we can actually do here is stay in with Lucario. We've thrown a power-up punch. We know this is just a Weather Ball because we know our counts for Abomasnow, and now they bring in Drifblim. They're locked in, we've got energy. This is a power-up punch boosted Shadow Ball. It's going to absolutely annihilate Drifblim. Boom! And now it doesn't matter. Lucario's counter's almost sweeping the whole game for us there. But we've got Bastiodon, and even though this Empoleon's got some energy, we can tank. At this point, we could probably survive the next Hydro Cannon and still farm down, but we should shield this up, I think, yeah. Play it safe, and there's not much this opponent can do. Bastiodon is too bulky, and we're going to take that win. And once Froslass got both those shields, Lucario could have pretty much swept that team regardless of how the opponent chose to play it. We could have farmed down Empoleon and Shadow Balled the Drifblim. We could have then farmed down the Abomasnow. They could have swapped straight into Drifblim. We still would have had a shield to make it to Shadow Ball and so on. So it would have been fine either way. Alright, in this matchup we actually get a Gastrodon lead, which is a solid lead for Froslass just because both Lucario and Bastiodon do struggle against Gastrodon. Now they say swap a Skuntank, which makes me believe they might actually have a Drapion as well in the back, which is there to also potentially deal with Froslasses. And it was a bite Skuntank, so Lucario's the safe swap just because it's resisting. No matter what fast move it's running, Lucario's going to be resisting it. Now we get the switch advantage. We get a shield out of the Gastrodon thanks to them thinking we might maybe have had a Shadow Ball, but we're actually one counter short, so now we're in a very strong position in this game. We're able to shield at this Earth Power without much pressure. We've actually got a Shadow Drapion in the back, and we've got Bastiodon to lock this thing down. And this could have Aqua Tail, and Aqua Tail is super effective, but it's quite a weak move, it's not stab. Drapion doesn't have the greatest attack stat, so as you can see they actually end up throwing Crunch instead because it's a much more energy efficient move. It is stab, and even in a matchup like against something like Bastiodon, generally you might still be better throwing Crunch. We can farm down entirely, and the only threat left is if this Gastrodon builds up enough energy to maybe bait us with a Body Slam and get an Earth Power off. But we've still got a shield, we're in a very, very dominant position. Just throw the Shadow Ball and take them out. GG. Alright, jumping into the third matchup against Webby Vid. What's he bringing to the table? We got Froslass on another Gastrodon lead. Now, one of the best things about this team is that you have a solid answer to pretty much whatever they decide is a safe swap to your Froslass. Lucarios very, very punishing to most things that would come in to try and shut down Froslass. Empoleon being one of those things, you just shield up one Hydro Cannon and farm down entirely. And yes, this does mean that you have to give up shield advantage, but also means you have a bunch of energy on Lucario that can do big damage to whatever comes back in, even if it is the Gastrodon, which it is. We're going to go for a power-up punch bait. We're expecting them to shield this no matter what, and if they don't, we're going to get to another power-up punch, and we're going to get some nice counter damage through that's going to do a nice chunk anyway, so we're not regretting it too badly. We actually get the shield from the second power-up punch. We've got an Avalanche even loaded on Froslass, ready to go to do big damage. They actually choose to let it go and swap, and here we've got the Bastiodon mirror match once again. So we're going to go for the Flash Cannon from the start. If you're going to throw it, I recommend you throw it as your first move when there is absolutely the least pressure on the opponent to shield, because there hasn't been any sneaking in of smackdowns at this point. The opponent doesn't know how this matchup's going to go, what the IVs are like or anything like that between these two Bastiodons. So getting that slightly harder hitting, more energy efficient but more expensive charge move through early is better, and then you can focus on going for straight flamethrower, so if they do decide to shield, you haven't lost as much energy. So as you're going to see, we're in a fairly solid position here. It's pretty neck and neck in this game right now, but this opponent's going to make a good play, and it's actually going to flip this game around in their favour. So we're about to throw our flamethrower. We actually overcharge by one smackdown before throwing, and they still managed to catch on their Gastrodon, and that's horrendous for us because we don't get to force that last shield out of them. Otherwise we would have been able to get to a Shadow Ball on Froslass, force it through, whereas at this point our Bastiodon is actually in farm down range, and they're going to be able to take this win regardless of our shield advantage, and that's a GG to them. Well played for catching on the Gastrodon. It was their only win condition and they managed to pull it off. But again, the opponent was in a position where they had to catch to win the game because Flash Cannon puts us in an advantage in that mirror match situation. Otherwise, it's just very tit for tat. It's whoever sneaks one or two smackdowns through, or whoever's got the higher attack stat that's going to win. Whereas if you've got Flash Cannon, you remove that factor. You have to let quite a lot of smackdowns through and get none through yourself for them to be able to flip that advantage back. Now, this matchup, we've got a Bomber Snow lead, which is very, very good for Froslass. You're resisting the ice moves. They have to land Energy Ball, and when it's a non-shadow Bomber Snow, even the Energy Ball's not that threatening. I believe they have to land that and a Weather Ball to take you out, so you don't have to worry too much about shielding up and getting baited. They actually swap in a Bastiodon. We've got Lucario to very, very hard punish, and this Drifblim gets a little eager, throws the Icy Wind when they've only thrown 4 hexes, so we know it's not a Shadow Ball. Now we can throw our own Shadow Ball, try and tempt out shields. We're going to get to a second Shadow Ball because we had so much energy from the Bastiodon mirror match. We're in a very, very strong position here, and we do get 2 shields out of this Drifblim, and it is a very, very loaded Drifblim. And if we didn't still have 2 shields, I wouldn't bring in Froslass here. I would just bring in Bastiodon and absorb the energy, whatever they threw. But because we got 2 shields, we're happy to bring in Froslass, get ahead on energy. Even though we're double baited with Icy Winds, it doesn't matter. We were expecting them to do this. So we actually swap immediately to Bastiodon and catch their Energy Ball. And now again, solid position. We can pretty much farm down this Abomasnow entirely, throw Flamethrower or Flash Cannon at the Drifblim and take the win. No stress either way. GG. Okay, so let's take a look at another bad lead in the last matchup of this first set, and that is a Bastiodon lead. Pretty much the worst lead alongside Empoleon for Froslass, except we've got slightly more pivot room on this team. Now, swapping into Lucario, which is a hard counter to Bastiodon, might sound like insanity, but also Lucario makes a much, much better safe swap than Bastiodon. And they actually bring in a Gallade, which is pretty punishing, farms us down pretty hard, but we actually make it to a power-up punch and a Shadow Ball before they're able to farm us down entirely. This means we're going to boom, take them out, take switch advantage in the one shield situation, which is immense. And look at how much work Lucario puts in while getting farmed down there. And now it doesn't matter, we've got Flash Cannon. Our Bastiodon is in a dramatically advantageous situation just because of the health advantage, despite their energy advantage. They're going to swap into the Gastrodon. They were hiding in the back, and we've got Froslass to lock this down. And this game is pretty much over. There's not much this opponent can do now at this point, because honestly, we just need to make sure we take out this Gastrodon, and we have a shield to make sure we can. And Gastrodon can't really bait Froslass effectively without a huge energy advantage, since it takes it so long to get to Earth Power or Water Pulse. So that was the end of another 4-1 set that we've taken with this team, and we're going to jump straight into the next set of battles, which was straight after the ones I've just shown you, and we got another Empoleon lead. And as we've said, Empoleon's probably the toughest lead overall for this team. It has the most potential to screw you in the end game, because if they got a Gastrodon back there, you're really going to struggle, and you're just hoping on getting both shields out of this Empoleon to really put you in an advantageous position to hopefully be able to one-shot with Shadow Balls or deal with whatever's in the back, ideally, thanks to the coverage from Flamethrower. Maybe they got a Lucario, you can do big damage with Bastiodon. You know, you just got to wait and see. But this Empoleon chooses to let it go, so we snipe down with Lucario, because that Empoleon pretty much had another waterfall, another hydro cannon, sorry, ready to go, and we wanted to deny that energy and get slightly ahead on energy ourselves, which means we can get to this Shadow Ball before Drifblim gets to their Shadow Ball. They're going to let it through, bang! Gets one-shotted, dramatic misjudgment from the opponent there, and now they've got a Froslass in the back, and we know now that we've already won, because we have Bastiodon to absolutely lock this thing down. And it seems like Empoleon was their only Bastiodon hard counter, and that puts you in a strong position. Like I said, some teams with Empoleon leads will still have Gastrodons in the back, and some will be very, very weak to Bastiodon in the back. And in those situations, you're going to win pretty hard. GG. So this team really is all about hard winning a lot of leads, because Froslass is such a strong lead. A lot of people are more prepared for it on the safe swap position, and then if you lose lead, there's a good chance that Lucario's Shadow Ball can nuke things once Froslass already drags shields out of opponents anyway. I don't think I'd realised until just now, but I think all my teams in this cup have evolved around Froslass, which I'm sorry about that if you don't have a Froslass, but it is incredibly strong. I do recommend you get one. It comes in for pretty much any cup with a limited meta that Froslass is allowed in. It's such a disgustingly strong Pokemon. Shadow Ball, Avalanche and Powder Snow is a beautiful moveset. Alright, now here's some real spice that threw me off that I wasn't expecting, and that is a Shadow Mamoswine on the lead. And as you can see, it's a Mudslap Shadow Mamoswine, which is even crazier. Absolute madness, and that Mudslap is absolutely chunking Froslass down. We are going to force shields out, because this must be an incredibly squishy Pokemon, but it boosts, it throws an ancient power, and it gets the boost. And now I have no idea really what to do, because everything on my team now is weak to Mudslap. There's nothing I've got to bring something in. I decide I'm going to counter down with Lucario, but look at the amount of damage we're taking here from this. We're going to let this through. It's an ancient power, doesn't quite, it double boosts before it goes down. Absolutely disgusting. And all we have left in this matchup now is our Bastiodon. They've got their own, and despite a shield advantage and having Flash Cannon, we're still going to really struggle unless they got something specifically weak in the back. And they do have a Cresselia, which does struggle against the Steel Boys, but the Grass Knots from Cresselia do add up. Now we're just going to crank up the speed a little bit of this matchup, because this will take a little while. I do see this game through, because I do feel like the match is lost, but I do want to give it my best try and see how I do. And I figure I'm better off throwing the Flash Cannon, because it is the more energy efficient move, and then farming down the Cresselia. I also choose to shield a Grass Knot, because I feel like Grass Knot probably does a similar amount of energy to Flamethrower. It might do a little bit more. I'm not 100% sure on the numbers for that, but they managed to just get 2 Grass Knots through before they go down, which is really unfortunate. We actually bring in Lucario. We're going to get a power-up punch off, which is absolutely huge. It's going to do a nice little chunk. We're going to get one counter through, which is boosted and does do a nice chunk of damage. We've got a nice bit of energy here, but we're still going to need to land, realistically, 2 Flamethrowers, I think, or maybe a Flash Cannon and a Flamethrower would take them out. It's going to be pretty close Maybe we'd need another flash cannon. No, I think they're pretty much close to flamethrower range. But despite Bastiodon being against the world there, managing to push the game, I'd say relatively close. I think if the Cresselia hadn't have gotten one more grass knot through, we probably might have been able to take that win. Alright, next matchup, another terrible Bastiodon lead, and again we're going to say swap Lucario because despite it being our hardest counter, we feel like our Bastiodon is still a positive matchup against theirs because of Flash Cannon and our ridiculous, the fact it's level 51, which is obnoxious really to say the least. Now we're able to get to a Shadow Ball thanks to giving up a shield against this Toxicroak, and if they don't shield, we'd get switch advantage. But what we want really is we want shields down from this opponent. We don't mind giving up a shield to get a shield, or switch advantage, either way would have been worthwhile for us. Now we're going to let this Mud Bomb go through, it's fine, it's no big stress. We'll have a bit of excess energy before we throw the next Avalanche. We want to have as much energy as possible on Froslass before we go down. And they're going to bring in their Bastiodon, and I think we're going to build up to a Shadow Ball before we swap out and see what this opponent wants to do. And having that Shadow Ball could come in pretty clutch in endgame. Now, can we get a shield out of this Bastiodon? I'm going to go for the Flash Cannon straight away for the slightly bigger chunk of damage, and then like we said, we'll go back to the Flamethrowers just to chip him down, and again tempt them if they want to shield to possibly take this matchup because they're staying in, which means they might be weak to Bastiodon in the back. They swap out to their own Froslass, and now we're going to get to this Flamethrower, going to do big damage. We're going to throw straight away because we want to tempt them to shield if they want to get a Shadow Ball off. We do get the shield, we swap to our Froslass, we're going to throw a Shadow Ball straight away, take it out, deny that energy that they were building up, and now they're going to surrender. We've still got a shield advantage. GG. And honestly, that's another reason to run Flash Cannon, is a lot of people aren't expecting it and it throws them out. They're not always sure what to make of it or what to do with it. Now this matchup we actually get a Roserade lead, and they swap into a Bastiodon which we can hard punish with Lucario. Now Roserade as a lead does have access to Weather Ball, which is super effective to Froslass, but it doesn't KO. It doesn't even nearly KO. You can very comfortably survive one. You're doing super effective Powder Snows, the Avalanches will definitely one-shot them, so you're still in a very strong position. We let the Flamethrower through, it nearly takes us out, we survive with 1 HP. That's very clutch and a very dangerous call that we've made there. But also, we're not feeling too particularly stressed. They have a Froslass that comes in to farm us down, and we've got Bastiodon to hard wall this. And again, this is just a done game, there isn't that much that they can do here. As you're going to see, I don't think we're going to shield this, we'll let it go, and you'll see how much a Weather Ball does. I believe if they actually throw the Leaf Storm, if they do run Leaf Storm and not Grass Knot, that will probably take you out, I would say, but Weather Ball just isn't quite hard enough hitting because it's not stab for them. And we're able to get to another Avalanche before they throw another move. I believe they built up quite a bit of excess energy here. And at this point, we're just going to probably let this go. We're getting pretty low. We don't want to get farmed down afterwards. We might as well let them take us out and just finish them off with Bastiodon. And this is pretty much a done deal. We've still got 2 shields there, so going to take a win. GG. Alright, last matchup. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you're enjoying the content overall, consider subscribing. We're doing this every day. You got any questions about the team, ask me down below. I do try to respond to comments and help you guys out if I can. Alright, Froslass mirror match. Let's go. What are they going to do? The opponent swaps into a Drapion, and this is very advantageous for us because we can control switch advantage. We've got Bastiodon to lock down their Froslass in the back. Now, once we take switch advantage from this matchup, so now this is a matchup where you do want to throw Power Up Punch, because if you don't throw the Power Up Punch, they're going to be able to force a shield out of you because they will make it to 3 charge moves. They'll probably make it to 3 Aqua Tails, and the third one will KO. As you can see here, we should have thrown the second Power Up Punch to mean that we didn't have to give up a shield in this situation, because right now we're not going to get to a Shadow Ball most likely. Now we do, it's the Froslass that comes in, so we're able to survive 1 Powder Snow, get to this Shadow Ball and force a shield or one-shot. We don't one-shot, it's absolutely fine. We've got switch advantage, and we're going to bring in our Froslass, even though we have Bastiodon to lock it down, because we've got a feeling that they got a hard counter to Froslass in the back. Why would they swap out of the mirror match if they didn't have 2 counters? So we get the shield, and then we swap to see what the opponent wants to do. It's a Toxicroak, which is very punishing to Bastiodon. But also, we can get a Flamethrower off, we can start to get them pretty low, and now I think the win condition here is to entirely farm down this Toxicroak and then throw a Shadow Ball at the opposing Froslass. Or even an Avalanche, depending on what health range it's at. I don't actually remember. Now, this is an example of reading an opponent's team wrong and it backfiring a little bit, because now look how low our Froslass is. We've still got a shield, but we know that we couldn't have spent it against a Toxicroak because we knew that this Froslass was loaded. It was going to be able to get to a Shadow Ball and Avalanche and take us out. So we needed the shield to get to our own and take them out and take the win with 1 HP and a dream. We very nearly threw that game away by bringing Froslass back into theirs and not the Bastiodon. If we'd have brought Bastiodon in and then swapped to Froslass against their Toxicroak, we'd have been very, very comfortable there. So that's going to wrap up the sets and the battles. Don't forget, guys, it is Go Battle Day on Sunday. You'll be able to do up to 20 sets of battles, 100 matches. With Stardust bonuses, you'll have a very good chance to climb in either Sinnoh Cup or Great League. So let me know how you're getting on, or just say hi down below if you fancy. If you're already subscribed to the channel, you're an absolute legend, and I will catch all you guys next time.